look through this?
I skimmed it.
All right, it is 7:00 p.m. It is the appointed time for our January 15th, 2018 Aleppo legislative meeting. I'll call this meeting to order. Could we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Can we have a roll call, please?
President Douglas?
Present.
Vice President Jones?
Present.
Commissioner Williams?
Present.
Commissioner Darrow?
Present.
Commissioner Duplaga?
Present.
Solicitor Stone?
Here.
Thank you. And just as a matter of record, if anybody from our Public Works Department had been here tonight, I would have asked them to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance in honor of all the hard work they've been doing out on the roads. But in a twist of fate, they are out on the roads tonight, getting things organized as we have more snow. So welcome to everybody who's come tonight. It's a snowy winter night. It's nice to see some people out here. I appreciate everybody coming out. Before we go too far down the road here, let me announce, as we do before every Aleppo meeting, that this meeting, like all Aleppo meetings, is recorded and it's saved on the internet. That means that there are people out there who are potentially watching live now, and it will be saved immediately and posted onto YouTube, where it will live indefinitely. So all that by way of saying, be on your best behavior and don't say anything you wish you could take back, because you can't. And with that, I will entertain a motion for us to approve the minutes of the workshop meeting of January 8th, 2018.
Second.
The motion is second. I have one change I wanted to suggest. In the goals, can I give this change to you, Gwen, since the secretary's not here? President Dobler reviewed a list of goals that he would like to accomplish in 2018. I think that should be changed to a list of goals for the township to accomplish in 2018.
Then Commissioner Darrow had one other correction. Was that filed?
That was on the agreement that we're signing with Ferndale Development. It wasn't on this.
That's been corrected today.
Good.
Right.
Okay, so I assume that the motion can be amended to include those two corrections?
One.
One correction?
Yeah.
Okay. Is that the case? Who
Yes.
made the motion?
I did.
Yeah, is that all right?
Yep.
Mr. Williams? Okay, so then the motion is to approve the minutes of the workshop meeting as of January 8th, 2018 as amended. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. That motion carries. Thank you. Reports, public safety. Chief, tell us a thing or two.
Pardon me?
I said, tell us a thing or two.
Not much. It's fine. There's a count police activity in Aleppo Township for the month of December 2017. We had alarms and residents and business, just a total of 2. Ordinance violation, officers were called smell of smoke in the area near Masonic Village. They checked it out, checked with some people. Nobody could find any recreational bonfire, as it was reported. This one was open garage door. Dispatch called the road was becoming icy. They called the police on that one. But the roads have been good. There have been numerous call outs. We had reported us 7. Another South McCoy was somebody reported being icy. This is an animal complaint, barking dogs. This is another animal complaint. Stray dogs were chasing deer. Officer Hartzell set up on Weber Road a couple of times. Monitored, observed 14 vehicles on one day, issued 1 citation. Another day, 23 cars, and stopped 2 for stop sign violations. And called by the state police to mile marker 68 for an accident. That's all I have to report. Questions?
Yeah, what happened was it over the weekend or on Friday, Thursday, the light pole went down on this road here?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't
Okay.
know off the top of my head.
Yeah, somebody drove down on Deer Run and drove into the telephone pole and took the pole down.
And took all the wires.
Lifted
But
the
everyone
pole
was
out of the
okay.
ground, and he was okay,
Oh.
did not require transport, and then all the crews showed up and closed the road until they were able to get it open with one night.
Questions?
We had a resident in here last week, Jimmy Seifert, who expressed concerns regarding speeding on McCoy Place Road and South McCoy Place Road. And we had suggested that he come back here tonight so he could speak with you, but apparently he couldn't make it. Maybe it was because of the bad weather. You know, he was asking the same question we get all the time. What do we need to do to get speed bumps installed? What do we need to do to get the police to write tickets?
We'll be glad to do what we do on other areas. We'll set up some times when the officers will spend some time there, monitor it. Put the speed sign up first, you know, just to kind of give them an indication whether or not they are speeding. Put the other device up to get a true indicator. And then if we have some issues there, we can put an officer there periodically and write some tickets.
Would you start that process, please, Chief?
You got it.
I appreciate it.
The weather has a lot to do with it too. We don't want to put that machine up. Bad weather, it's just,
But target.
yeah, it's,
Was it the same individual that said his car was struck?
Yeah.
Yeah, he said there's like a blind spot there coming, I guess, out of McCoy in the morning because of the sun and the rise, and this woman hit him because the sun had blinded her, and she was also speeding.
we'll see what we can do about getting the sun. So
Yeah, I know, it fixed the sun, okay.
yeah, we'll start the process.
One other comment, our engineering company has some expertise in this, and I had Gwen talk to them. Gwen, do we have another copy of this?
We do, yeah, we have.
Chief, would you look at this?
Go each.
Okay.
Let me also add that I had a chance to review the PennDOT manual. And so when you do your study, and I think the HRG materials refer to it, it would be good if we had a count. Because there's there are minimum trips during regular and peak hours that PennDOT wants a study to include. So if we were to have HRG do a study, for example, before you would use what do they call them, speed calming devices like bumps or islands or what they call bulbs. I mean, there are a number of them, but they don't recommend them until your traffic hits a certain minimum volume. And I think 1,000 cars. is
Oh,
the
yeah,
minimum.
if I put that device up, that'll give us,
So
Exactly.
we could do an actual count, and we could do a count that would be targeted to peak hours as well.
it'll put it bins from this time to this time, this many cars. It'll just give me crap over.
So as far as the request for these calming devices, like bumps, PennDOT does have minimum requirements. So if you can keep that count, that would be great.
Does PennDOT, when they recommend the bumps, does it have to do with peak hours and speed, like excessive speeds during peak hours, or is it like throughout the day? Like, do you know how they break down speed in that?
Both.
Okay.
So they're looking at a minimum number of cars per day, a minimum number of trips per day, plus they also have something called an 85%, 87% now. I didn't totally understand, but what is that? What's
Whatever the speed, whatever the average speed at the 87th percentile, it has to be, if it's
10?
higher than what it should be, then there's grounds for raising or lowering the speed.
So if 85, again, I don't mean to dominate the conversation, I'm just trying to understand the parameters. If 85% of the traffic is at or lower than that particular speed, then the speed limit,
You could lower the speed.
you could lower it.
Same, if it's higher, then somebody can justify saying you can raise the speed.
So to answer your question, Yes, I think the study is controlled for number of cars and excessive speed.
We did that on Weber, didn't we?
Yeah,
Essentially the same thing.
yeah, we'll give you a good report. Just let's let the weather.
And just point of interest, there's some good information in our
Thank you.
engineer's study. I mean, simple little things like it's been proven that trees on the side of the roads slow people down.
Trees, cars, parked. A lot of things.
Rotaries?
Rotors are great. I think they work.
Expensive.
All right, anything else? Okay, how about public safety? Or, sorry, emergency management.
No report.
And next, we have fire company,
No report.
Public Works.
public works.
They're
We have the
working.
public reports, or the public works report. They're out plowing as we speak. So what they did in the last time is they plowed and salted roads, ordered salt, filled the building. Every time they get salt, they have to shove it around a bit. Truck 58, it replaced the hydraulic motor on the spreader. They picked up the Christmas trees throughout the township with the help of the water authority, and then cleaned heavy ice off of areas on county and state roads with the backhoe. We have a couple areas with springs that just always have ice, and pretty much in this kind of weather, every day they go down with the backhoe, break it up, salt it heavily, then go down at the end of the day and try to break up some more after the salt works. Winter maintenance has been a theme.
Was there any progress on what you and I met with Public Works about?
Okay. Communications. I have a few emails to read to the board. The first is from Dave Cranston. Hi, Matt. While listening to the meeting that you recorded on December 18th, I was struck by the question one of the Aleppo citizens asked about the status of the ongoing Masonic lawsuit. I cannot quite understand how the commissioners are bending over backwards to facilitate the Masonic in their new venture when they are suing us. It would seem to me that we should not facilitate them at all as long as they are suing us. It was also said that the school district doesn't have a problem with children coming to the school. I'm sure they don't because they get more money. Also mentioned by one of the commissioners was that any Aleppo citizen can ask for a zoning variance. I don't see how the Masonic residents can claim citizenship when they pay no taxes. I know that they pay in lieu of taxes. Seems to me that at one time this was $100,000. But whatever it is, it probably pales in comparison to what 3.5 mils would be on the assessed valuation of all that property. Wouldn't it be nice if you and I could decide what we wanted to pay in lieu of taxes? Good luck with that. By the way, I do realize they are citizens. It's just that they have become, quote, special, end quote, citizens, or we should say, quote, super, end quote, citizens. I would like to thank you for the good job you're doing, especially with the videos, Dave Cranston. Next is from Mark Yeazer. Matt, would you please pass along my compliments and gratitude to whoever is responsible for plowing and salting the roads in our development. They did a great job last week when it snowed. Next is from Roger Looney, Lugney. Thank you. We're spreading the word about the Masonic Village's adjudicated youth home and plan on a larger audience for this meeting. Seems something about this project is amiss. Why would Masonic put their vulnerable resident population at risk with this project? What is their reimbursement from the state, or by building this home, will they be able to refile for their tax status? There has to be a substantial financial incentive for them to assume this amount of risk, as I suspect that altruism played very little role in their decision-making. Do you have any insight into the financial arrangement that comes along with this? It is a re-registration of tax status that would exempt them from property tax or something like that. It would have a deleterious effect on the revenues for Aleppo. What does Aleppo Township think of the project, as it is their public safety that will be responsible for handling the transgressions? That's all. That's my report. So on to planning and zoning.
On your report.
Tax collector. Oh.
You have Clayton's reports in your packet. And I can go over the end of year total. Property, let's see, the end of year balances in the checking account was $114,129.05. The liquid fuels fund had $82,669.71. General investment savings, $839,230.30. Reserve fund is $105,018.47. Capital improvement, $560,914.70. And PNC one is our general checking. State fund liquid fuels is where our salt comes from. So that amount's going to be reduced pretty quickly because Thomas had to order, I think, 550 tons of salt in the last couple weeks.
How much have we spent?
Going to be 30-some thousand, probably a little more.
So
When it
far.
comes in. General investment is our general accounts. Reserve fund is our emergency fund, and capital improvement is our paving fund. So total monies on hand, 1.701962.23, and subtracting out the pledged and targeted funds, net operating funds, $953,359.35. And if you look at that was treasurer kind of, the tax collector part, we finished the year slightly under budget in property tax collections, over budget on the delinquent real estate tax collections, over on the realty transfer tax, which means when we get taxes whenever houses sell in the township, higher on earned income, higher on local services, and slightly under on business privilege tax. So we ended the year with tax collection higher than our budget by about 70,000. So it was a good year for tax revenue.
Okay, thank you. There's a pre-printed motion under finance. I'll entertain.
So moved.
Let's read into the record, please. Could you read it into the record, please?
Yes.
Commissioner Williams?
Motion to approve. Motion to approve the December bill list in the amount of $24,464.60. Ratify the December prepaid bills in the amount of $23,558.65. And to ratify December payroll transfers in the amount of $16,043.83.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. That motion carries. Thank you. Before we get to the Aleppo Township Authority, I want to go out of order because hearing the tax collector and treasurer report made me remember that I missed an email to read. This message is from Clayton Stoop. Dear Matt, Happy New Year. The video explaining the new sewer rates. I thought it was well done. However, the sewer rate increase should have been communicated not only in writing to every homeowner in the township at least 30 days prior to the bills being sent, or emailed if paperless, and through our social media and internet platforms. Instead, we had to hear about it. Instead, we had to hear about the increase through a video and a discussion at a workshop meeting after the bills were sent. When I received my bill, I was not sure if this was a rate increase or do I have a problem with my particular system. The authority should be sending the rate schedule out on an annual basis, whether there is an increase or not, in addition to the water analysis evaluation provided through Westview Water. The authority website, and the township website for that matter, should have the rates posted annually for the sewer and water consumption, as well as an explanation of how to read the actual bill and how constituent bills are calculated. The websites should also have an FAQ page providing questions and answers to the various topics related to the sewer system and the billing issues. Thanks again for all that you and the other commissioners do for the township. Sincerely, Clayton Stu. All right, now we're on to Aleppo Township
Could
Authority.
you forward that email, please?
Sure.
To all of us.
Yes. Aleppo Township Authority. I guess that's, who am I directing that towards at this point? Authority.
Right. Yes.
Go.
Oh, no, well, I'm going to attend my first meeting next week.
Okay, so then I'll come over here. You have anything to add?
That's fine. Dan and I had a conversation after the last meeting and how he and I are going to handle the transfer over, particularly in lieu of the work that we're going to be doing on the pump station. There was one question that came up on the Culligan Water, and I called and emailed David and have received no reply.
Okay.
A question on the Aleppo sewer bills that went out most recently. Didn't reflect the new rate.
Did not reflect the new rate. The new rate will be effective January 1st, and that bill goes out at the beginning of February. So it's the bill that the residents will receive at the beginning of February that will reflect the new sewer rates.
And there's a notification that goes out?
There will be an insert that explains what the new rates are in that mailing.
Does it cover much of Clayton's request?
Some of it. I would like that email so we can,
Good.
figure out what we need to do for websites and things like that.
I sent it to you. Okay, QB Cog. I don't have any report. Ambulance Authority? What, are you looking at me like I should have a report?
No, I'm not, and I
Okay.
don't have one either. So, no report.
MS4. How does all the snow change how we should deal with our storm sewer?
Well, the salt goes in, so that's always an issue, and that's part of the problem, but there's not, that's a problem that every municipality in the state faces, that. I do have actually something on MS4. The COG is facilitating a Vector truck rental through the Shar West COG. They have the equipment and they have the operator. So all the.
What is a Vector truck?
The thing that comes along and sucks out your catch basins, sucks out the leaves, the grit, the junk in all of your storm sewer catch basins, which is what the focus of MS4 is. So most of the municipalities in the COG have signed up for rental weeks. So we are all going to be cleaning our catch basins with a truck, which is a little more efficient than just shoveling by hand. We will have to rent a line dumpster for the disposal, but this will go a long way towards our MS4 requirements of cleaning them and documenting what we remove from the catch basin. So as of now, it looks like our rental week's going to be in July. So you'll see that truck going around in July.
So I don't mean to be obtuse, but they actually lift up the grate on top of it.
They lift up the grate, the crews will have the backhoe and lifts the grate over, and then this truck comes along and it's a giant hose, and they stick it in there and it sucks it all out into the truck, and then the truck has to be emptied into a lined dumpster so that it's properly disposed of.
Kind of like Cousin Eddie in reverse.
Do they sample what they remove from the different,
Not usually. They usually just remove it.
okay.
Were some of our educational requirements under MS4 satisfied with the activity of the COG?
A lot of them are. A lot of the public outreach is satisfied with the activities.
So for information, the COG oversaw some activities that helped us with our educational requirements under MS4.
Yep. Okay, solicitor.
No report.
Report on Christmas tree recycling. Gwen, can you tell us about our Christmas tree recycling, please?
This was the first year of that project, the Christmas tree recycling program. It happened on Monday, January 8th. There were 68 trees collected. It took 2 employees 3 hours to drive around Aleppo and collect all the trees. Took 5 trips around to collect them. It was a joint collection effort by the township and authority employees because it snowed that day. So our 2 main public works guys were out plowing the roads. So we had our part-time summer help and part-time plow help guy. We called him in and he came and picked up trees. And then the water authority, one of their employees worked with him and they went around and picked up all the trees. Brought them back here since they didn't have to go to North Park on Monday. And then on Tuesday, one of our employees, just during regular business hours, took 3 trips to North Park to drop off the trees that were collected. using the authority's large dump truck, because it's bigger than ours, and ours had spreaders in them. It took about 4.5 hours to make those trips to North Park. So it was, all in all, it would have taken about 1 day's worth of work for the public works crew if you put those 2 days together, those two trips together to do all the work. And then we had some costs for it. We had about almost $90 in postcards, $126 in signs, $136 in postage, and $171.24 in wages, for a total of $523.45 this year. We expect that if there had been no snow event, we wouldn't have had any wage costs, and the signs can be reused next year. We saved them, and they're the kind where we can just fill in the new date next year. So we expect that if this is done again next year, it would cost less than half of what this year's cost was, weather permitting, weather was got away. And we did get some thank yous for it.
And these parentheticals that you have here, that the budget, that's the line item.
That's the line item. So everything that was spent on this, there was a line item budget for it, and none of those line items were exceeded this year. So there was room in the budget to do these kinds of things.
Just out of the normal operating budget. And actually wasn't even, I mean, so like you have $89 for postcards and $1,000 budget for printing. It's not as if this even came close to that.
No, and then the signs were in the printing budget also, so no, we're not even close. So it was covered by normal operating budget.
Okay.
Is that in all the packets?
It's not, I only made it because I thought Matt was gonna read it,
Oh,
so I can share this with everyone.
Oh, did you want me to read this?
I got it.
Nice job. Well, thank you, Gwen, and thank you to the township crews, public works crews, and thank you to the Aleppo Township Authority crews that stepped in and helped when the weather was bad. I appreciate that. And I think 68 trees is a noble effort for our first time out. Thank you to everybody that was involved in that. Okay, turning then to our old business. Our first item on our old business is our Masonic Children's Home. Thank you. There was a glitch in the video last week where we were a little bit hard of hearing on some of these things. So please indulge me as I perhaps explain this a little more detailed than I might otherwise. Last week, we read into the record a letter that we received from an attorney representing Masonic Village. And that letter withdrew Masonic Village's request for the amendments to our township zoning ordinance to accommodate their request for a children's home. So in response to that letter, we put together what we're calling main motion number 4. Main motion number 4 was to withdraw main motion number 1 and main motion number 3. Main motion number 1 and main motion number 3 were the two pieces of action that we had pending addressing Masonic Village's request for an amendment to the zoning ordinance. So the motion that we're about to vote on is main motion number 4, which would withdraw main motion number 1 and main motion number 3. Main motion number 4 has already been made and seconded, and then it was deferred for 1 week. So it is ready for a vote without a second. Before I bring this up for a vote, I'll ask if there's any further discussion with respect to main motion number 4 to withdraw main motion number 1 and main motion number 3. All right, hearing none, let's take a roll call vote, please.
President Tober?
Yes.
Vice President Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Williams?
Yes.
Commissioner Dara?
Yes.
Commissioner DePlaga?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so then what that means is that main motion number 4 carries. I'm sorry, that's not 4, it's 5-0. Main motion number 4 carries. That means that main motion number 1 and main motion number 3 are withdrawn. And that means that there is no pending action from this board with respect to the Masonic Village Children's Home at this point. Anybody have any questions about that? Okay, great. Turning then to our next item of business, 2018 goals. There's a motion pending to adopt the 2018 goals as modified. The modifications were 2 additional suggestions that were made at the workshop meeting. The motion to adopt 2018 goals as modified is ready for a vote. It does not require a second. Before we turn to that vote, is there any further discussion?
Yes, I had a question on the park.
Okay.
Was this study already done by environmental planning and design on the previous?
We've never had a study done. The idea is just to
You said
have
it's a
them come in and talk to us about it.
Okay, so they haven't done it. It
No.
sounded like they were presenting something.
We might, before they come in to present, they might want to go look at it, see
Yeah.
what they're talking about. But the whole idea is just, again, to figure out what, if anything, we want to do. We want to take any action out of this.
Yeah, I just wasn't familiar if we had done something previously or whether they had actually looked at it.
I mean, I think that all that's been done with that park space as of now is that some trees have been cleared. Any other discussions with respect to the motion to adopt the 2018 goals? All right, hearing none, we'll do this by a voice vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. That motion carries. Okay. There is a pre-printed motion in the agenda that was not raised last at the workshop meeting. I'll entertain a motion at 7C.
I move to adopt an ordinance of the Township of Aleppo, Allegheny County, Pennsylvania, approving and ratifying the terms and conditions of a revised sanitary sewage treatment agreement with the Borough of Swickley for sanitary sewer services.
Second.
All right, there's a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion with respect to this? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. That motion carries. And then there's another motion at 7D.
I move to adopt an ordinance of Aleppo Township providing a revised schedule of rates for sewage service to Aleppo Township Authority customers.
Second.
Motion and a second. Is there any further discussion with respect to that? I mean, I'll step in here and just clarify for the sake of anybody who's not really sure where we are at this point. Last week, when Commissioner Dara and I, or when Commissioner Dara did the presentation, then he and I came in and re-recorded it for the digest. The rates that we were talking about are what we're talking about adopting here in this motion. So those rates need to be adopted by ordinance, and that's what's being done here. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. Motion carries. Thank you. All right, is there any other old business? Hearing none, let's turn to new business. There is a pre-printed motion at 8A.
Move that we approve developers agreement with Ferndale Development Group LLC and authorize President Gilbert to execute same on behalf of the township.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Once again, I'll step in here and clarify what exactly is going on. This is an agreement that we had reached with the Ferndale Development Group. That issue had been resolved quite some time ago. This is the formality of the agreement. We had in October or November, we had voted to authorize the solicitor to negotiate this agreement. He's now negotiated the agreement. In fact, it's been executed by the other party, the Ferndale Development Group. And it's just sitting there waiting for a signature by this board. But executing that agreement is perhaps a little bit beyond the original authority that was granted to the solicitor to negotiate the agreement. So this particular item is simply a function of us executing an agreement that was already agreed to and in fact already negotiated and in fact already executed by the other party to the agreement. Any other questions on that? Any other discussion on that? All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. That motion carries. Thank you. All right, that brings us to citizen participation. Citizens.
Not being a citizen, I wanted to bring something up. I'm currently talking with a group that has a app out there. And they were at the, if anybody was at any of the legislative conferences, called Savvy Citizen.
You mentioned this to us December.
Okay, I'm in talks with them now, and they're gonna give me an idea on what it would cost for all 8 of our communities to take the population and come up with one price. And at some point, if with your permission, I'd like them to come in and give you a 5-minute little dissertation on their site. And
Can you give us a 30-second?
yeah, it's an app that puts out text messages and email messages, and Glenn can use it. You guys can have permission to use it, and we could use it. You send the messages out, and it's an informative website. It's not a, I know you're gonna have a website. It's not a website, but what's interesting about it is it ties in all the communities that are using it will be all on there together. So say if Gwen wants to do a cleanup on the road here, on this date she can look and, okay, well maybe Swickley's doing something that day. Everybody will post their different community events on the calendar. I can send out a security message saying, hey, on McCoy Road, we had a house broken into, be on the lookout for whatever, or be aware of cars being broken into, things like that. What's nice about it, what I like about it is it's not a gossip page. Nobody's going to call you back. Nobody's going to write back, and they have no access to it. This is strictly an informational app. The toughest thing is getting that out to everyone. You have to, they did McCandless, Pine, Richland, all Northern Regional, they're all on it now. And they have signs and they put them out. You know, savvy citizens go and sign up for McCandless. But it's interesting, and I think it's pretty useful. We have these other things out there, these reverse 911 call systems and that. And I know there's individuals that don't have smartphones in that. That is an issue, but I think for the general public at this point, I think it's something that's very minimal. If they give us an 8-community package, it would be like $20 or $30 a month. It's really minimal.
Yeah, it's really got, you mentioned this to us in December, so Gwen and I have spent some time researching it. It's really got 2 components. The first component is basically a light version of a reverse 911 system. So everybody that's signed up for this thing, you can push out notifications in varying degrees of urgency to residents. So you can push something out that says there's a tree down on Glen Mitchell Road, take another route, or you can push something out that says there's an accused child rapist floating around sheets. Be alert. Be watching out. And as Chief says, part of what is attractive about that is that different people can have different levels of access to that function. So Gwen, Chief, Emergency Management Coordinator, they can all have different abilities to sort of send these things out, which is helpful. That's the first side. The second side, as Chief said, is that it's got calendars, which is in and of itself nothing very impressive. Our new website is going to have a calendar. A calendar is a pretty easy thing to have. But again, as Chief points out, part of what makes it good is that it aggregates the calendars from several different communities into one place. So we all know that if you live in Aleppo, having the Aleppo calendar is not the end of your investigation into how to be involved in your community. You have to have the Swickley calendar. You have to have the Edgeworth calendar. You have to have the Swickley Heights calendar. So rather than having to go to all these different websites and getting all this different information, this goes towards feeding it all into one place.
How are the contacts acquired? Like, if I'm a resident, how do you?
Well, that's what Chief was saying. They put up some communities put up signs that say download this app.
Okay.
It's not automatically.
Okay,
Yeah, you have to input all the information.
okay.
Or people go and sign up. I mean, so we downloaded it, and it said, "Where do you live?" And we checked off Aleppo. I think when did we check off other municipalities? But none of them, Swickley Heights, Osborne, Edgeworth, none of them are using it. So you check it off, and nothing has come into my feed yet, because none of them are using it. But now that I'm in it, if there was an alert that was pressed through to Aleppo, I would get that.
Well, between Swickley Heights Manor and Masonic Village, we could acquire a lot of contacts pretty quickly.
Correct. So, I mean, Chief, again, you talked to us in December. This is number one on our list of goals for 2018. So we're definitely on that.
My goal with them was to get an aggregate price for 8 communities, and he said he'd be willing to do that.
And to be sure, whether you get an aggregate price or you pay the sticker price, it's not very expensive. I mean, certainly when you look at some of the other information sharing type apps that Gwen and I look at, this one is one of the least expensive. And it's pretty clear that what they're trying to do is they're trying to get users. I mean, they need the aggregating calendars only works if all the calendars are there. So they're trying to get people on board, and it seems clear that their business plan right now is a rush to get users, both individuals and the municipalities. I mean, without tainting that conversation at all, or saying, we just need to keep thinking about what our bigger communication strategy is. And one thing that we really don't want to do, it's one of the things Gwen and I have said from the very beginning. It's the reason that Aleppo does not presently have a Facebook page, doesn't have a Twitter page. We don't want to be chasing every single thing that comes down the pike and diluting real efforts to get information out there by having all these different systems out there. So again, I mean, we think enough of it that we want to hear from them. But I don't want to Cosmo Kramer spot shake their hand and just be done with it.
What is their revenue stream?
Municipalities that,
Yeah.
Just $20 a month?
49 people.
Would
$50
Based
a
on
month.
population.
It's based, yeah, right.
Wouldn't it be useful to have our school board folks or people with the school district, because that, we have people going, like when this person was running around, I heard that Osborne was getting bombarded with calls, parents concerned when that guy was lurking around Sheets, and the school sent out notifications regarding that. So would it be useful to have them somehow, just our school board representative or someone with the school board also involved if we were? Because I think that would be more of a, not just, because we are a huge school district, and I know those other municipalities aren't currently signing up, and they may never sign up, but I think that would be useful for the school information to be on there as well. She was like the fellow that was.
Well, I think I know somebody on the school board,
I
so
know, do you?
I can invite somebody from the school board to be here. And I think it probably doesn't hurt to, if we end up getting, note that the goal is to invite a salesperson, not get a salesperson, because for all we know, they're going to tell us, hey, it's on the web. That's our sales pitch, right? For $50, what do you want? But assuming that somebody will come and explain it to us and show us.
I see them in Hemsworth, they put on nice little.
So, I mean, I think they will too, because I've met them at Seven Springs. I've met them. So assuming that they'll come, then maybe it makes sense to invite the school board. Maybe it makes sense to invite some of the other municipalities. Just, hey, they're coming. Hear what they have to say.
Yeah, people say that, living in Swickley, sometimes we don't leave this area.
Mhm.
Aleppo, Swickley, we kind of stay on the side of the river. But yeah, I think if the other municipalities were involved, it'd be much more useful.
Yes, sir.
I really had 2 questions. She covered one of them. Thank you. Would there be any other organizations that would be eligible, political action committees, or what's the restriction of who could put out messages on?
No, it's not. That's what Chief said. It's not designed to be.
Okay.
It is not Facebook. It is not a social media platform. It is a
Well,
one-way
I
platform.
don't have any, you couldn't respond to it. But the second question is, I don't understand the charge. Is that per resident? That's
the township gets charged, I think it's $49 a month. And that's based on population size, so it's tiered. So if you're over a certain number of residents, then you go to the next tier. We're at the bottom tier, so it's $50 a month. Or something like that. When we have our salesperson from Savvy Citizen present to the Communications Committee and Public Safety Committee.
That's my conversation. If I take the population of 8 communities, give me one price for all 8. It might take you from $49. Your portion might be $10 a month. It could go down that low. I can see it if they would let me lump all 8 together.
Yeah. And similar to what the chief is saying, I mean, I think this has got COG written all over it. I've reached out to the executive director of the Quaker Valley Council of Governments and asked her if she thought that there would be some overlap between trying to get all these different communities involved in one fell swoop. And that sort of remains open.
There, in my years here, there's been a pitiful interaction between communities. They're almost, no, this is who we are, and you're not, you're not going to know our business. So I think it would be important to integrate all that together. Time moves on, and we have to help each other, so to say. World changes. We are really one community. We don't stay in Aleppo, so I think it would be important to know what the other communities, especially if it may affect our lives in some manner. I mean, I'd be in favor of that's what I'm kind of saying, but I was curious about the cost. That was my main question.
All right. Anybody else on Savvy Citizen? Anybody else on citizen participation? Yes, Manager Patterson.
Okay, sorry. We got a call today about the Trapezono property, the parcels that they were looking to subdivide, and they withdrew it. We got a call asking if the board would be interested in talking to them to see if you would somehow make approval conditional on a sale, and then that the sale proceeds would have an agreement attached to that to require that the back taxes be paid as part of the approval process. So they're looking for a way to, this was their real estate broker, are looking for a way to accomplish the subdivision and the payment at the same time. So they're looking to see if the board is interested in talking about having that be a condition of when they reapply, allowing that to be a condition. I don't expect you guys to have an answer on that right now. I just want to bring it up. If you'd like, I can put it on the workshop agenda to talk about some more. I can ask someone to show up and kind of present that if you are interested in hearing more about what they want.
I think we need the solicitor's input on that question.
Did you get that? Did you follow that?
Yeah, sort of. I always get confused with the Trapezono because we've got several different.
It's
parcels.
the garage and the house property.
What's the status of that now?
They withdrew their application, so there's nothing.
Is that the
pending.
one that Wayne DeLuca was here on?
He's still working on that.
And it seemed to me the problem there wasn't so much, well, one problem was payment of delinquent taxes and tax liens. But the other problem there had to do with they hadn't established the proper ownership of the property.
That's a separate issue, and I did explain that to the property manager that they had to clean up their own Wayne DeLuca issues, ones that he's working on first. Then once those were cleared up, then the subdivision, he couldn't go forward without having that kind of stuff cleared up anyway, deed issues. So pretending that all got cleared up, then when it comes back, pretending that that's all cleared up, would the board be willing to talk about allowing the payment to be a condition of the approval and then allowing a sale to go through and then having that fund?
Are we owed taxes?
Yes.
A lot.
Would it diminish or advance our ability to collect those taxes?
So I'm trying to figure that out.
I think this conversation is out of order. I think it should be on the workshop agenda.
Yeah.
Happy to put it on that if you want to talk about it some more. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good.
I agree.
Happy to do it.
It'll give me a chance to
talk to me about that.
look
Digest
at,
it.
look at the paperwork again.
All right, anybody else? Once, twice, we are adjourned. Thank you all.